We are 7 weeks out from the 2022 midterms, but in Johnson County, Kansas, they're still focused on the 2020 results.
Yeah, Kansas's Secretary of State reiterates there is no evidence of any election fraud in the 2020 election. Despite this, the Johnson County Sheriff devoting resources to an investigation looking into alleged fraud in the 2020 election.
And since we learned about the investigation in mid-July, we've tried multiple times to sit down with the sheriff for an on-camera interview.
Since we learned about that investigation in mid-July, we've tried over and over. So KSHB 41 investigator Cameron Taylor found him at a public event to get some answers.
Yeah, that's right, Dia and Kevin. We've tried multiple times, at least 4 times since mid-July, to set up an interview with the sheriff. It's now been 2 months since our first request. So during a break of a meeting, I finally had a chance to ask the sheriff in person.
Now, we've done a lot of operational change. We have cut to the bone.
Inside the meeting room, Johnson County Sheriff Calvin Hayden was pushing for higher pay in the middle of a staffing shortage. Outside the meeting, we wanted to know from the sheriff if and how he's using deputies on an investigation the Kansas Secretary of State's office says has no merit. Cameron Taylor, KSHB 41.
How you doing?
Doing well. We've been trying to ask you questions about your investigation into alleged fraud in the 2020 election. Why won't you talk with us about it?
Because it's under investigation.
We've heard a similar response before in an email on July 18th and another on September 9th, an almost identical response. Our questions began when this video from July emerged of Sheriff Hayden.
And there's a lot of stuff going around about what happened in this election. Quite frankly, I don't know, but I'm looking.
He spoke at a constitutional sheriff's and peace officers event in Las Vegas.
We've got a whole lot of reasonable suspicion. And we're starting to develop some probable cause.
I questioned the sheriff about Las Vegas as his spokesperson tried to end our conversation. But you have talked about it. You've talked about it at a convention.
So we're actually not going to.
Sheriff, you can answer for yourself. You have talked about it at a convention in Las Vegas. You've also talked about it to a small group here in Johnson County.
Sheriff, you don't have to respond to questions.
Sheriff Hayden's office says it's investigating more than 200 claims of fraud from the 2020 election. His office says letting us see the allegations would compromise the investigation. This summer, I spoke with Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab. Do you feel confident about elections in Johnson County as well as the whole state of Kansas?
Absolutely. In the evidence says we should be confident.
Schwab's office reiterated that confidence Monday. We went back to the Secretary of State's office after a video posted on the social media site Rumble surfaced. They told me to date, not a single instance of election fraud from the 2020 general election has been prosecuted in any court in the 105 counties in the state of Kansas. The Rumble video shows the sheriff speaking with a group at the sheriff's office a couple of weeks ago, saying he has, quote, tons of reasonable suspicion, but the sheriff says he needs probable cause.
We haven't spent billions of dollars working on this. I've assigned my guys to do surveillance, and I flexed out their time, and they did good surveillance, and we did some other slippery stuff.
Why won't you be transparent about this?
I'm totally transparent about it.
Now, I also checked in with the Johnson County DA's office. They tell me nothing has changed on their end, meaning they have not been involved in the investigation and nothing has been submitted for them to review. For the KSHB 41i team, I'm Cameron Taylor.